They called me at 6:47 a.m. on March 20th, 2024. I remember the exact time because I was staring at my phone, willing it to ring. David hadn't answered my texts in 3 days. "Mrs. Chen?" The voice was professional, clipped. "This is Harborview Medical Center. Your son David Chen was admitted to our ICU approximately 2 hours ago. You're listed as his emergency contact." My hands went numb. The jade bracelet on my wrist, the one Robert gave me when David was born 38 years ago, felt suddenly cold against my skin. "What happened? Is he okay?" "I'm coming right now. Ma'am, I can't discuss details over the phone. Please come to the 5th floor ICU waiting area." I threw on the same jeans I'd worn yesterday, didn't brush my teeth, grabbed my purse and the blue nursing notebook I've carried since 1987, even though I retired 3 years ago. My hands shook so badly I dropped my car keys twice in the apartment hallway. Mrs. Park from 3B poked her head out, saw my face, and didn't ask questions. The drive from Northgate to First Hill took 23 minutes. I ran 4 red lights. I didn't care. The hospital smelled exactly like I remembered. Pine-scented disinfectant trying to cover something sour underneath. My feet knew the way to the elevators before my brain caught up. 34 years as a pediatric nurse at Swedish Medical Center, just 6 blocks away. I knew every shortcut, every stairwell, every overworked vending machine in this neighborhood. 5th floor, ICU. The doors were locked, with a buzzer and intercom system. I pressed the button 3 times before someone answered. "Name and patient?" "Margaret Chen. My son is David Chen. They called me—" One moment. The pause lasted 40 seconds. I counted. "Mrs. Chen, I'm afraid you're not on the visitor list for that patient." My stomach dropped. "What?" "I'm his mother. I'm his emergency contact. You people called me." "I understand, ma'am, but the patient's spouse has specified the approved visitors. And you're not currently—" "Let me in. Let me see my son. Now." My voice cracked on the last word. An older couple in the waiting area behind me looked up from their magazines. I didn't care. I pressed the buzzer again and again. "Ma'am, if you continue, I'll have to call security." I was about to scream when I felt a hand on my arm. Firm. Urgent. I turned. A nurse in purple scrubs, maybe 50, with tired eyes and gray roots showing in her black hair. Her badge said Patricia Morales, RN. She leaned close. Her breath smelled like coffee and mint gum. "Hide," she whispered. "Room 511, next door. Right now. Trust me." "What?" "I need to see my—" "Hide. You'll understand in 60 seconds. Something in her face made me listen. Maybe it was the way her jaw was clenched. Maybe it was because I recognized that look. I'd worn it myself 1,000 times when I'd seen something on a patient chart that made my blood run cold, and I couldn't say anything in front of the family. Room 511 was empty, bed stripped, lights off. I pressed myself against the wall behind the open door, heart hammering so hard I thought I'd pass out. Through the gap between the door and frame, I could see the waiting area. 40 seconds later, the ICU doors buzzed open. Vanessa walked out first. My daughter-in-law wore white skinny jeans and a pink cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her hair was perfect. Those expensive highlights that take 4 hours at the salon. She was on her phone, not even looking where she was going. Behind her, carrying a brown leather briefcase, was my sister Linda, my baby sister, 51 years old, a CPA with a corner office in Bellevue, who I hadn't spoken to in 8 months because she stopped returning my calls after our mother died and left the Beacon Hill house to me instead of splitting it. They walked right past room 511. I held my breath. "Don't see why we had to come back," Linda was saying. "The papers are already notarized." "Because the doctor wants to talk about next steps." Vanessa's voice was light, almost cheerful. "And we need to make sure nobody screws this up, especially not her." Her. They stopped at the bank of elevators, 20 feet from where I stood frozen. Linda shifted the briefcase to her other hand. "You really think she'll show up?" "Oh, she'll show up." Vanessa examined her nails. "That's why I had the front desk take her off the visitor list. Can you imagine? Her getting in there, making a scene, upsetting David when he needs rest?" He hasn't even woken up yet. Exactly. And when he does, the last thing he needs is his mother hovering, asking a million questions, making everything about her like she always does. Vanessa laughed. It was a pretty sound, like wind chimes. I'd always hated it. Did you bring the capacity assessment forms? Linda patted the briefcase. Dr. Morrison will sign off tomorrow. After that, we can move forward with the sale. 60 days to close. And then, the elevator dinged. They stepped inside. I watched the numbers descend. 5, 4, 3. My legs gave out. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the cold linoleum floor of room 511, still holding my purse, my blue notebook pressed against my chest. Capacity assessment forms. Sale. Take her off the visitor list. I thought about the Beacon Hill house, the house my mother bought in 1972 for $45,000, when that neighborhood was still working-class Chinese and Filipino families. The house now worth $680,000 according to the Zillow estimate I'd checked last month. The house I'd planned to leave to David someday. The house that was currently the only thing standing between me and complete financial ruin, since I'd sold everything else, including the Bellevue house Robert and I bought when David was 2, to pay off the $127,000 in medical bills when David got acute appendicitis that turned into sepsis back in 2008, 16 years ago. He was 22, just out of college, no insurance yet because he'd aged out of hours and hadn't started his first job. 3 weeks in the ICU. 4 surgeries. I'd spent every penny of Robert's life insurance payout, emptied our retirement accounts, took out a second mortgage, and finally sold the house. David cried when I told him. Said he'd pay me back. He never did. But I never asked. That's what mothers do. And now my son was in the ICU again, and I wasn't allowed to see him, and my sister, my own blood, was carrying paperwork to declare me mentally incompetent so they could steal the last thing I owned. Patricia Morales appeared in the doorway. She locked eyes with me. "They're gone," she said quietly. "But you need to leave before they come back. Vanessa usually stays an hour, but today she seemed rushed." I couldn't speak, couldn't move. Pat knelt beside me. "How long has your son been married to her?" 8 years. My voice sounded like someone else's. "August 2016. I paid for half the wedding. $14,000. I told David she seemed, I don't know, cold. He said I was being overprotective. When did you last see him?" "Sunday, 5 days ago. We had dim sum at Jade Garden like we do. Did. Every other week." He seemed tired, kept checking his phone. Said work was stressful. Pat studied my face. "Mrs. Chen Margaret, I'm going to tell you something and I need you to listen carefully. I can't tell you medical details about your son. HIPAA. You understand? You were a nurse, but I can tell you this. What's happening here isn't right. And I've seen it before." "Seen what?" "Family members using ICU stays to rearrange things when the patient can't advocate for themselves." She stood, brushed off her scrubs. "I lost my mother 2 years ago. Similar situation. Her boyfriend convinced her to change the will while she was on morphine for cancer. By the time I found out, it was too late. He got everything. The house in Tacoma, her retirement accounts, even her car. I forced myself to stand. My knees felt like water. What happened to David? The person on the phone wouldn't tell me." Pat glanced down the hallway, then back to me. "Car accident is what's in the chart. Single vehicle, drove into a telephone pole on Aurora Avenue North at 4 a.m. Blood alcohol level was 0. Tox screen is still pending. David doesn't drink. He hasn't touched alcohol since college." "I know. It's in his medical history." "So what?" "I can't say more, but you should know that his wife was the one who called 911. She was in the car. She wasn't injured. Not a scratch. We stared at each other. "Room 518, Pat said. "That's where he is, but you can't go in. Not yet. They'll call the police and then you'll never get answers." "Then what am I supposed to do?" She pressed something into my hand. A business card with a phone number written on the back in blue pen. "My cell. Call me if you need anything. And Mrs. Chen?" She squeezed my shoulder. "Whatever you do, don't let them know you know. Not yet. I left through the stairwell instead of the elevator. Sat in my car on level 3 of the parking garage for 20 minutes, gripping the steering wheel, trying to breathe. My phone buzzed. Text from Vanessa. Hi, Mom. Just wanted to let you know David is stable. Doctor says no visitors for 48 hours, strict rest protocol. I'll keep you updated. Mom. She'd started calling me that 3 years ago. I'd always hated it. It felt like an act, a performance. I typed back, "Thank you, sweetie. Please tell him I love him." She responded immediately, "Will do. He's sleeping now, but I'll tell him when he wakes up. Don't worry about anything. I've got everything under control." The exclamation point made me want to throw the phone against the windshield. Instead, I opened my blue notebook to a blank page and wrote, March 20th, 2024, 8:15 a.m. David in ICU, room 518. Vanessa removed me from visitor list. Linda involved, briefcase with capacity assessment forms, planning to sell Beacon Hill house. Pat Morales, ally. Car accident story doesn't match. No alcohol. Vanessa uninjured. I sat there until 9:30 watching people come and go from the hospital entrance below. Families crying, families laughing, families that weren't being ripped apart by their own blood. At 9:47, I watched Vanessa and Linda exit together through the main doors. They stopped on the sidewalk. Linda lit a cigarette. They talked for 6 minutes, then hugged, then got into separate cars. Linda drove a white Tesla. Vanessa drove David's black Audi, the one he'd bought used last year for $32,000 after saving for 3 years. The Audi had a dent in the front bumper. Fresh. The metal was crumpled, paint scratched down to silver. I took a photo with my phone. Then I drove home, made myself a cup of tea I didn't drink, and sat at my kitchen table staring at the wall until the sun went down. On the wall was a framed photo from David's 8th birthday. He was wearing a Superman cape I'd sewn from an old red bedsheet. Robert had him on his shoulders. I was standing next to them, laughing, my hand on David's knee to keep him steady. We looked happy. We looked safe. I touched the jade bracelet on my wrist and tried to remember when everything started to go wrong. I didn't sleep that night. At 3 a.m., I gave up trying and made coffee in the dark kitchen. The apartment was quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator and Mr. Kim upstairs walking back and forth. Night shift worker. I used to do those shifts. You never really adjust. By 4:30 a.m., I'd made a list in my blue notebook. What I know. David in ICU since about 5 a.m. March 20. Car accident at 4 a.m. Aurora Ave N. Vanessa in car, unharmed. Blood alcohol 0, tox screen pending. I'm blocked from visiting. Linda has capacity assessment forms. They're planning to sell my house. What I need to know. What's in the briefcase? Did David change his will? When can he talk? Who else knows? At 6 a.m., I called Pat Morales. She answered on the second ring, voice alert. Night shift. It's Margaret Chen. Hold on. I heard footsteps, a door closing. Okay, what do you need? Can you tell me if David's awake? He regained consciousness around midnight. Vitals stable. But Mrs. Chen, Vanessa had him put on a sedation protocol. Doctor's orders, supposedly for agitation. Agitation? What agitation? Exactly. Her voice dropped. He woke up asking for you. Got upset when they said you couldn't visit. 20 minutes later, new orders came through. Ativan every 4 hours. My hand tightened on the phone. That's not medical necessity. That's chemical restraint. I can't confirm that officially, but yes. How long can they keep him sedated? As long as the attending physician approves it. And Dr. Morrison seems very cooperative with Mrs. Chen's requests. I closed my eyes. What do I do? Document everything. Get a lawyer. And Mrs. Chen? Check your son's legal documents. If he changed anything recently, you need to know before they move forward. After we hung up, I sat staring at my phone. A lawyer would cost money I didn't have. My savings account had $12,400, supposed to last me until I was too sick to take care of myself. My monthly budget was tight, $1,450 for rent, $300 for groceries, $200 for utilities and phone, $180 for Medicare supplement, whatever was left for gas and repairs on a 13-year-old Corolla. At 8 a.m., I called Linda. She answered cheerfully. "Maggie, I was just about to call you. How are you holding up?" The fake concern in her voice made my jaw clench. "I'm worried about David. Have you seen him?" "Oh, Vanessa and I stopped by yesterday. He's getting excellent care. You know Harborview has the best trauma unit in the state." Why wasn't I told he was in the hospital until 2 hours after admission? Brief pause. "I'm sure that was just an administrative error. These things happen." "And why am I not on the visitor list?" Longer pause. Vanessa thought. "Well, you know how you can get emotional, and the doctors said David needs absolute calm right now. No stress. She's just trying to protect him. I'm his mother." "Of course you are. And when he's stronger, I'm sure—" "What was in the briefcase you were carrying yesterday?" Silence. "Linda, I saw you. 5th floor, 8:20 a.m. You and Vanessa, talking about paperwork and selling my house." Her voice changed, went flat. "Where were you?" "That doesn't matter. What matters is, you're conspiring with my daughter-in-law to declare me incompetent so you can steal the Beacon Hill property, the house Mom left to me. Maggie, you're being paranoid. Nobody's trying to— Don't lie to me. I heard you, both of you." She exhaled slowly. "Fine. You want the truth? David asked us to help. He's worried about you, Maggie. You're 63 years old, living alone in that dump in Northgate, barely scraping by on $2,300 a month. Meanwhile, you're sitting on almost $700,000 in real estate that you refuse to sell or even rent out. Mom's house is just rotting. The roof leaks. There's mold in the basement. That's my decision to make. And what happens when you get sick? When you need round-the-clock care? That savings account of yours won't last 6 months in a decent facility. David loves you. We all do. We're trying to plan for your future. By taking away my home. By liquidating an asset you're not using so you can live comfortably. David wants to put the money in a trust for you. Managed care. Nice assisted living when the time comes. He's thinking ahead. My throat felt tight. When did David tell you this? 3 weeks ago. He called me, actually. Said he'd been trying to talk to you about it, but you kept shutting him down. 3 weeks ago, February 28th, right after our last dim sum lunch, when he'd seemed distracted. I want to hear that from David, not from you. Well, you can't right now because he's sedated and recovering from a traumatic accident. But when he's better, I'm sure he'll explain everything. Her voice softened, turned condescending. Maggie, I know you've been through a lot. Losing Robert, working all those years, sacrificing everything for David. But maybe it's time to let other people take care of things for a while. You're tired. Anyone can see that. Go to hell, Linda. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I made more coffee I didn't drink and stared at the wall. 3 weeks ago. David had asked them to help. Or had Vanessa asked, and David agreed because he trusted his wife. I needed to see the paperwork, the will, the trust documents, whatever they'd filed. At 10 a.m., I drove to David's house in Maple Leaf. The one he bought 4 years ago for $490,000 with help from his inheritance when Robert's father died. $18,000 that was supposed to go toward a down payment. The house was a narrow 2-story craftsman with peeling blue paint and a yard full of weeds. Vanessa complained about it constantly on her Instagram, posting photos with captions like, "Making the best of our starter home, fix rupper, blessed." I used my emergency key, the one David gave me in 2020, said, "just in case." The house smelled stale. Mail piled up inside the door. I stepped over it. The living room was pristine. White furniture, gray throw pillows arranged just so, potted fiddle leaf fig in the corner, everything positioned for photos. Nothing looked lived in. David's home office was upstairs, second bedroom. The door was closed. Inside, papers everywhere. His desk buried under file folders, sticky notes, empty coffee mugs. This was the real David. Messy, disorganized, always running late. The opposite of Vanessa's curated perfection. I sat in his chair and started looking. Bank statements from January showed joint checking account balance $8,200, savings $2,400, credit card debt $32,000. I kept digging, found the credit card statements. Nordstrom $9,000, Whole Foods $4,000 over 6 months, Sephora $3,200, Revolve $5,000, all in Vanessa's name. Mortgage payment $3,400 a month. David's take-home after taxes and insurance $5,200 a month. They were drowning. In the bottom desk drawer, under a pile of old tax returns, I found a folder labeled Estate Planning, Morrison & Associates. Inside, new will, dated February 28, 2024. I read it twice. Everything, the house, his 401k, his life insurance policy, $500,000, I'd forgotten about that, went to Vanessa. I wasn't mentioned anywhere except as pre-deceased parent Margaret Chen in a contingency clause. There was a sticky note attached. Vanessa's handwriting, loopy and girlish. Baby, don't forget to mail these copies to your mom's address. We need proof she received notice of the changes. Love you, V. Proof I received notice. I checked my mail from the past 3 weeks. Nothing. Then I checked the trash can under David's desk. Torn envelope, my address printed on label. Postmarked March 1st, never sent. He'd changed the will but couldn't bring himself to tell me. Or Vanessa stopped him. I took photos of everything with my phone. Every page, every statement, every receipt. Then I put it all back exactly as I'd found it. On my way out, I checked the kitchen trash. On top, crumpled printout of an email. I smoothed it out. To Linda, Zhao Accounting, com. From Vanessa, Chen, Style Egg Mail. Bird date, March 15th, 2024. Subject. Next steps. Linda, thanks for meeting yesterday. I think we're almost ready to move forward. Once David signs the updated POA this week, we can start the capacity evaluation process for Margaret. Dr. Morrison confirmed he'll expedite the assessment, should have her declared within 30 days. I spoke to the realtor about the Beacon Hill property. Current market estimate is $680K. After commission and closing costs, we're looking at roughly $630K net. Split according to our agreement, 70-30. That's $441K for us and $189K for you. Timeline. David signs POA by 3/20, capacity hearing mid-April, house on market by May 1st, close by June 30th. We should have the money before summer. One problem, David is getting cold feet. He feels guilty about doing this to his mom. His words. I've been working on him, but he keeps bringing it up. Any suggestions? Maybe you could talk to him? Your family. He might listen to you. Fee. I stood in David's kitchen, reading that email 3 times. March 15th, 5 days before the accident. David was getting cold feet, and 4 days later, at 4 a.m., he drove into a telephone pole with Vanessa in the passenger seat. I folded the printout, put it in my purse, and walked out of that house. I spent 4 days living in my car. Not the whole time. I'd drive home at 5 a.m. to shower and change clothes, then back to the hospital by 7. Parked on level 3 of the garage, same spot, where I could see the ICU entrance below. Watched everyone come and go. Vanessa arrived every day at 9 a.m. sharp, stayed until noon. Left for lunch meetings that lasted 3 hours based on her Instagram stories. Photos of lattes, avocado toast, her face in perfect makeup captioned things like, self-care isn't selfish, psych hard day, psych hospital vibes. She'd return around 4 p.m., stay an hour, then leave for the night. Linda came twice, both times carrying the brown briefcase. I ate protein bars from the glove compartment and used the public restroom on the 2nd floor. At night, I'd recline the driver's seat as far as it would go and try to sleep under Robert's old mariner's jacket that still smelled faintly of his cologne even after 16 years. Mostly, I stayed awake. I thought about David at 8 years old, learning to ride a bike in the driveway of the Bellevue house, how he'd fallen 17 times before he got it, skinned knees and elbows, but refused to quit. Robert running beside him, hand on the bike seat shouting, "You've got it, buddy, you've got it." When he finally rode a full loop without help, He'd pedaled straight to where I stood on the porch and yelled, "Mama, did you see? Did you see me? I saw you, baby. I always saw you." On the third night, March 22nd, 11 p.m., my phone rang. Pat Morales. "He's asking for you again." I sat up so fast my head hit the car roof. "Is he awake?" "They reduced the sedation this afternoon. He's been in and out. Right now he's alert. Keep saying your name. I'm coming." "Maggie, you can't. Vanessa left standing orders that—" "I don't care. That's my son. I know. That's why I'm calling. But if you come up here and she finds out, she'll have you arrested for trespassing. And then you'll never see him." I gripped the phone. "Then what do I do?" Silence. Then, "Give me your number. If there's a window, if she leaves and he's awake, I'll text you. You'll have maybe 10 minutes, 15 if we're lucky. Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." She hung up. I sat in the dark car, surrounded by crumpled protein bar wrappers and empty water bottles, and waited. The text came at 1:47 a.m. "Now." She left at 1:30. "He's awake and asking for you. Go." I ran. Didn't wait for the elevator. Took the stairs 2 at a time, legs burning. 5th floor. Buzzed the intercom. Different voice. Younger. "Name?" "Patricia Morales called me. Room 518. The door clicked open. Pat was waiting inside. She grabbed my arm, pulled me down the hallway. "You have 10 minutes, maybe less." She could come back any time. Room 518. The lights were dimmed, machines beeping softly. And there, in the bed, my son. He looked so small. David was 6'1", 190 pounds. But lying there with tubes in his arms and a bandage wrapped around his head, he looked 12 years old again. His eyes were open, unfocused, but open. "David?" His head turned slowly toward my voice. It took him 3 seconds to recognize me. "Mom." His voice was hoarse, barely above a whisper. "You came." I grabbed his hand. It was cold. "Of course I came. I've been here since the day they called me. They wouldn't let me see you." His eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry." "Sorry for what, baby?" I screwed up. I screwed everything up. "What happened? Why were you in the car at 4 a.m.? He closed his eyes. A tear ran down his temple into the pillow. "We were fighting. She said if I didn't sign the paper, she'd leave, take everything. I said no. She got so mad, started screaming. I got in the car to drive around, clear my head. She jumped in the passenger seat, wouldn't get out." My throat tightened. "What paper?" "Power of attorney, for your house. She said we needed the money, said you weren't using it anyway, said you'd understand, said it was for our future." He opened his eyes again. They were Robert's eyes, dark brown, with the same little gold flecks. "I told her no. I told her I couldn't do that to you. Not after everything you sacrificed." "Oh, David." "She said I was choosing you over her, over our marriage. Said if I really loved her, I'd put her first for once." His fingers tightened around mine. I was driving too fast, crying, not paying attention. She grabbed the wheel. The room went cold. "What?" She grabbed the steering wheel, jerked it to the right. I tried to correct, but we were already off the road. Hit the pole going 45. "David, she tried to kill you." No, I don't think." She was just upset. She didn't mean." He stopped, stared at the ceiling. "I woke up in the ambulance. She was there, crying, saying she was so sorry it was an accident. She loved me so much. The paramedic asked what happened and she said I swerved to avoid a dog. And you didn't correct her." I was so confused. My head hurt. I couldn't think straight. He looked at me. Did I do the right thing? Saying no to her? I wanted to scream. Wanted to shake him. Wanted to tell him his wife was a monster who'd conspired with my own sister to steal everything I had and then tried to murder him when he wouldn't cooperate. Instead, I said, "You did exactly right. She won't even let you visit. I heard the nurses talking. She told them you'd upset me, that the doctors said no stress." His voice cracked. "I'm so sorry, Mom. For all of it. For not paying you back after you sold the house for my medical bills. For marrying her when you said something felt off. For not standing up to her more. For being weak. You're not weak. I let her isolate me from you. Slowly. Little comments here and there about how you were too involved, how we needed boundaries, how I needed to prioritize my marriage. I stopped calling as much, stopped inviting you over, made excuses. Tears streamed down his face. And now I can't even protect you from her. I leaned close. Listen to me. I need you to get better. Can you do that? I'm so tired. I know. But fight the tiredness. The medication they're giving you. The Ativan. You don't need it. It's keeping you sedated so you can't talk. Do you understand? His eyes widened slightly. She told them to give me that? Yes. Why? Because she knows you were having second thoughts, and she needs you compliant until she can finish what she started. Oh, God. He tried to sit up, winced, fell back. Mom, you have to... The door burst open. Vanessa stood in the doorway, still in the clothes from her Instagram story 8 hours ago. Her hair was messy, no makeup. I'd never seen her without makeup. What the hell are you doing in here? I didn't move from David's bedside. Visiting my son. You're not authorized. I'm calling security. She pulled out her phone. Vanessa, stop. David's voice was stronger now. She's my mother. She can visit. Baby, you're not thinking clearly. The doctor said, I don't care what the doctor said. I want my mother here. Vanessa's face changed. The mask slipped for just a second and I saw what was underneath. Cold calculation. She recovered fast, arranged her features into concern. Of course, I understand. You're confused right now. The head trauma. I'm not confused. He squeezed my hand. And I'm not signing anything. Not the POA. Not a new will. Nothing. Do you understand? Her jaw tightened. We'll talk about this when you're feeling better. There's nothing to talk about. It's done. Over. She stared at him for a long moment, then at me. Her eyes were flat. Empty. Fine. She turned and walked out without another word. David exhaled shakily. She's going to make this so much worse. Let me worry about that. Pat appeared in the doorway looking pale. Mrs. Chen, you need to go. Now. She's at the nurse's station filing a complaint. I'm not leaving him alone with her. You have to. If security escorts you out, they'll ban you from the hospital entirely. And then I can't help you anymore. David squeezed my hand one more time. Go, Mom. I'll be okay. Will you? I'll refuse the sedation. Tell the nurses I don't want it anymore. I'll be alert by tomorrow. I bent down, kissed his forehead like I used to when he was small and afraid of thunderstorms. I love you so much. I love you too. And Mom? He looked directly at me. Whatever you need to do to protect yourself from her, do it. I won't blame you. I left through the back stairwell again, sat in my car until sunrise, shaking. At 6:15 a.m., I got a text from an unknown number. This is Vanessa. David is no longer your concern. Stay away from my family, or I will destroy you. I have lawyers and money, and everyone in this city believes me. Who do they believe you? A bitter old woman living in a shithole apartment, obsessed with a son who chose his wife over his mother. Back off, or I will make your life a living hell. I read it 3 times. Then I opened my text thread with Linda and typed, I know what you did. I have the emails. All of them. Sent. 2 minutes later, Linda called. I didn't answer. She texted, Maggie, please, can we talk? This is getting out of hand. I blocked her number. Then I drove home, finally. Took a shower, made actual food, scrambled eggs and toast. Sat at my kitchen table with my blue notebook and wrote, March 23rd, 2024. David confirmed. Vanessa grabbed the wheel. He refused to sign POA. She's threatening me. Linda is scared. Time to stop defending. Time to attack. I looked at the framed photo on the wall. 8-year-old David in his Superman cape. Okay, baby, I said out loud. Mama's going to fix this. I hadn't used my Swedish medical center credentials in 3 years, but the badge still worked. I know because I tried it at 2 a.m. on March 24th, standing outside the employee entrance on Cherry Street, half a block from Harborview. My hands shook as I swiped the card. The light turned green. The door clicked open. Swedish and Harborview shared the same electronic medical record system, Health Connect, implemented in 2019 after I'd spent 2 months training nurses how to use it. I knew every workaround, every backdoor, every way to access information without leaving obvious tracks. I sat at a terminal in the empty nursing station on the pediatric floor, my old floor, and logged in using the guest credentials I'd memorized years ago. Generic access meant for traveling nurses and temps. Low-level clearance, but enough. I searched. Chen, David. Dub, 08-12-1986. His file opened. Admission date, March 20th, 2024, 5:14 a.m. Chief complaint, motor vehicle accident, single vehicle collision, suspected head trauma. I scrolled through the intake notes. Paramedic report. Patient found semi-conscious behind wheel of 2023 Audi sedan, front-end collision with utility pole on Aurora Ave N near N87th St. Passenger spouse uninjured. Stated patient swerved to avoid animal in roadway. Patient responsive to verbal stimuli, pupils equal and reactive. No obvious external injuries except minor laceration to forehead. BP 11876, HR 94, SpO2 97% on room air. ER physician notes, 32-year-old male, alert and oriented X3 upon arrival, denies loss of consciousness. Reports headache 710, mild nausea. CT head negative for acute hemorrhage or fracture. Toxicology screen ordered. Patient appears anxious, speech pressured. When asked about accident, patient became tearful and stated, "I don't want to talk about it." Spouse present, very attentive. I kept reading. Tox screen results, 9:42 a.m. Negative for alcohol, positive for alprazolam, Xanax, 280 ng/ml, Zolpidem, Ambien, 95 ng/ml. I stopped. Read it again. Alprazolam and Zolpidem. Together. That combination causes severe drowsiness, impaired coordination, confusion. You don't drive on that combination. You can barely walk. I checked David's medication history in the system. He had a prescription for Xanax from 2022. 5 mg as needed for anxiety, written by his primary care physician. The prescription showed he'd filled it once and never refilled. 12 pills total. No prescription for Ambien. Ever. I pulled up the detailed tox report. The levels were high. Not recreational use high. Therapeutic dose for someone taking them regularly high. Someone had given David those medications, recently, probably within 2 hours of the crash. I thought about Vanessa's Instagram story from the night of March 19th, 12 hours before the accident. Photo of 2 wine glasses on their dining room table. Caption, "Date night at home with my love. Quality time the Barf marriage." I took a screenshot of the tox report with my phone. Then I kept digging. Pharmacy records. Vanessa Chen had an active prescription for Ambien 10 mg, filled monthly since 2021. Dr. Richard Morrison, prescribing physician. Dr. Morrison. The same doctor Linda mentioned, the one who'd sign off on my capacity assessment. I searched his name in the system. Internist, private practice on Madison Street, hospital privileges at both Harborview and Swedish. 42 years old, medical school at University of Washington, residency at UCSF, clean record, no malpractice suits, no disciplinary actions. But when I pulled up his patient list, I found something interesting. Vanessa Chen, patient since June 2023. Prescriptions for Ambien, Adderall, Xanax, same brand as David's old prescription, and phentermine, weight loss medication. A lot of controlled substances for someone with no documented chronic conditions. I dug deeper into Vanessa's file. Office visit notes from Dr. Morrison were brief, generic. Patient reports ongoing anxiety. Sleep disturbance continues. Refill prescriptions as requested. No physical exams, no mental health assessments. Just rubber stamp renewals every 30 days. I took screenshots of everything. Then I searched one more name. Margaret Chen. My own file. There it was. Added March 18th, 2 days before David's accident. Patient referred by family for cognitive assessment. Daughter-in-law reports concerning memory lapses, confusion, inability to manage finances. Appointment scheduled 4/15/2024. I'd never spoken to Dr. Morrison in my life. Never been to his office. Never agreed to any assessment. But according to this note, Vanessa had called his office claiming I was showing signs of dementia and needed evaluation for conservatorship. The appointment was 3 weeks away. April 15th. Tax day. Linda's sense of humor, probably. I screenshotted that too. It was 3:47 a.m. when I logged out and left the building. My badge worked on the way out. Nobody saw me. I walked back to my car on level 3 of the Harborview garage and sat in the darkness, looking at the photos on my phone. Evidence. Real evidence. Not just speculation. Vanessa had access to sedatives. David tested positive for sedatives he didn't normally take. Vanessa was in the car when he crashed. Vanessa was also the one who called 911 and told the paramedics he'd swerved to avoid an animal, a lie David had contradicted when he told me she grabbed the wheel. And now she was trying to have me declared incompetent by a doctor who prescribed her controlled substances without proper medical justification. I could take this to the police. Maybe. But what would I say? My daughter-in-law drugged my son and caused an accident, and now she's trying to steal my house? With what proof? Screenshots I'd obtained by illegally accessing medical records using expired credentials? I'd lose my nursing license. Even though I was retired, they could still revoke it, which would affect my pension. And Vanessa had money for lawyers. I had $12,000 in savings. No, the police weren't the answer. I needed something else. Something that would destroy her credibility completely. Something public. At 7 a.m. I drove to Walgreens on Roosevelt Way. Bought a digital voice recorder for $34. The smallest one they had. Barely bigger than a USB drive. Bought batteries. Tested it in the car to make sure it worked. Then I called Pat Morales. I need your help with something. Something that could get you fired. She didn't hesitate. What do you need? Access to David's room, when Vanessa's there, for about 5 minutes. Silence. Then, when? Today, this afternoon. I know she comes around 4 p.m. Why? Because I'm going to get her to confess, and I'm going to record it. Maggie, I know what it is, but it's the only way. She's trying to have me declared incompetent. She drugged David the night of the accident. I have proof, but I need her voice. I need her admitting what she did. Another pause. What if she doesn't admit anything? She will. Because I'm going to make her think I already know everything. People confess when they think you have more evidence than you actually do. It's human nature. They want to control the narrative. You sound like a detective. I was a nurse for 34 years. Same skill set. Pat laughed, but it was hollow. Okay. But if this goes wrong, I was never involved. Understood? Understood. At 3:45 p.m., I was back at the hospital. Pat met me in the stairwell on the 4th floor. She got here 10 minutes ago, brought coffee and muffins for the nursing staff, playing the devoted wife. Pat's voice was tight with disgust. David's awake, alert. He refused the Ativan again this morning. She's not happy about it. Good. Is she alone with him now? Yes, but there's a problem. She specifically asked that nobody interrupt them. Said they needed private time to talk. Even better. That means she doesn't want witnesses. Or it means she's going to manipulate him into changing his mind about the POA. Then I better hurry. Pat handed me a visitor sticker. You have exactly 7 minutes before shift change. After that, the evening staff will be doing rounds and someone will see you. I pressed the sticker to my shirt and clipped the voice recorder to my bra, microphone facing out. Hit record. Room 518. The door was closed. I could hear voices inside. Vanessa's high and pleading. David's low and tired. I opened the door. They both turned. David looked relieved. Vanessa's face went through 3 expressions in 1 second. Shock, fury, then a forced smile. Margaret, what a surprise. I need to talk to you, alone. David started to protest. I held up a hand. It's okay, honey. Your wife and I need to have a conversation. Adult to adult. Vanessa stood, smoothing her skirt. I don't think, now, in the hallway. Something in my voice made her follow me out. We walked 10 feet from David's door. Far enough that he couldn't hear, close enough that the recorder would catch everything. I looked directly at her. I know what you did. She crossed her arms. I have no idea what you're talking about. March 19th, you drugged David. Ambien and Xanax in his wine at dinner. Then you picked a fight about the power of attorney. Got him upset enough to get in the car. You got in with him. And when he wouldn't drive to your lawyer's office to sign the papers, you grabbed the steering wheel and crashed the car. Her face went pale. That's insane. Is it? Because the tox screen shows 280 nanograms of alprazolam and 95 nanograms of zolpidem in his system. And you're the only person with access to those medications. I stepped closer. You tried to kill my son because he wouldn't help you steal my house. I would never. David is my husband. I love him. You love his potential inheritance. That's all you've ever loved. Her jaw clenched. The mask cracked. You have no proof. I have the medical records. I have your pharmacy records. I have the email you sent Linda on March 15th outlining your entire plan. And I have David's testimony that you grabbed the wheel. She stared at me, calculating. I could see her mind working, trying to figure out what I actually had versus what I was bluffing about. Then she smiled, cold, sharp. Fine. You want the truth? Yes. I gave David something to help him relax. He was so stressed about disappointing you, about the stupid house, about everything. I thought if he just calmed down, we could talk rationally. And yes, we fought. And yes, maybe I reached for the wheel because he was driving erratically and I was scared. But none of that matters. It matters to the police. She laughed. The police? Please. You think they'll believe you? A lonely old woman obsessed with her son, angry that he chose his wife over his mommy? I'll tell them you're delusional, that you've been harassing me, that you illegally accessed medical records. Yes, I know about that. The system logs everything. And that you're making false accusations because you're upset about being left out of David's will. He only changed that will because you manipulated him. I didn't manipulate anyone. I helped him see reality. You're 63, broke, and clinging to a piece of property you can't afford to maintain. We were offering to help you, put you somewhere nice, take care of you, and you're too proud and stubborn to accept it. She stepped closer, lowered her voice. David doesn't need you anymore. He has me. And after you're declared incompetent, we'll have your house too. There's nothing you can do about it. We'll see. I turned and walked away, down the hall, through the ICU doors, into the stairwell. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I'd collapse. I made it to level 3 of the parking garage before I stopped the recording. 7 minutes, 42 seconds. I played it back. Every word was clear. Yes, I gave David something to help him relax. Maybe I reached for the wheel. After you're declared incompetent, we'll have your house too. I sat in my car and cried for the first time since this started. Not from sadness, from relief, because now I had a weapon. I didn't sleep that night either. Just sat at my kitchen table playing the recording over and over on the cheap Walgreens recorder, watching the green LED pulse with Vanessa's voice. Yes, I gave David something to help him relax. Maybe I reached for the wheel. After you're declared incompetent, we'll have your house too. At 4 a.m., I made a decision. I couldn't go to the police, not without admitting I'd illegally accessed medical records. But I could go to David. He needed to hear this. All of it. And then he needed to make a choice. I called Pat at 6:30 a.m. Is Vanessa there yet? No, she hasn't come in. It's weird. She's usually here by 9. What about David? Awake. Alert. Asking for breakfast. He seems better, physically anyway. Can you get me in to see him before she shows up? Maggie, after yesterday, please, I have something he needs to hear, and if I'm right about what Vanessa's planning next, this might be my last chance. Silence. Then, 30 minutes. Come through the staff entrance on the west side. I'll meet you. I dressed carefully. Clean jeans, a blue cardigan Robert bought me for our 20th anniversary, the jade bracelet. Put the voice recorder in my purse along with printed screenshots of the medical records and emails. Evidence. All of it. Pat was waiting by the staff entrance at 7:15 a.m. She looked exhausted. "David knows you're coming. I told him you had information about the accident. He wants to hear it." "And Vanessa?" "Still no sign of her. I checked the visitor log. She hasn't been here since you two talked yesterday." That made me nervous. Vanessa wasn't the type to disappear. She was a performer. She needed an audience, unless she was planning something. Room 518. David was sitting up in bed, no longer connected to the IV. His color was better. The bandage on his forehead was smaller. He looked like my son again. "Mom." He held out his hand. I took it. "How are you feeling?" "Like I got hit by a truck, but clearer. The nurse said I can probably go home in 2 days if there are no complications." He paused. "Vanessa hasn't been here since yesterday afternoon, after you two talked. She texted me last night saying she needed space to think, that you'd said some horrible things about her, and she didn't know if she could handle seeing you right now. David, I need you to listen to something." I pulled out the recorder, set it on the bedside table. "What is this?" "A conversation I had with your wife. Yesterday. In the hallway outside this room." I pressed play. Vanessa's voice filled the small space. David's face went through a dozen emotions as he listened. Confusion, disbelief, horror. Then, at the end, when she said, "After you're declared incompetent, we'll have your house too." Something I hadn't seen in years. Rage, pure, cold rage. The recording ended. Silence, except for the beep of the heart monitor. "She drugged me." His voice was flat. Dead. "She put pills in my wine and then crashed the car when I wouldn't sign away your house." "Yes. And she was planning to have you declared mentally incompetent so she could sell your property and take the money." "Yes." He stared at the wall. "How long has she been planning this?" I pulled out the printed emails, handed them to him. He read slowly, carefully. When he got to the part where Vanessa wrote, "David is getting cold feet. Any suggestions?" His hands started shaking. "March 15th, he whispered. 4 days before the accident. She was asking Linda how to manipulate me. Linda was in on it from the beginning. Vanessa promised her 30% of the sale. $189,000. David looked up at me. His eyes were red. "I almost helped them do it. She had me so convinced that we were helping you, that you were struggling financially, that the house was rotting, that we were being responsible by planning ahead." He laughed bitterly. "I actually felt guilty for hesitating, like I was a bad son for not wanting to take away your home. You're not a bad son. I married a sociopath. You married someone who lied about who she was." He was quiet for a long moment. Then, the night of the accident, March 19th, we did have wine at dinner. She made this big deal about it. Said we needed to reconnect. That work had been so stressful for both of us. I remember thinking the wine tasted weird, bitter. I mentioned it, and she said it was a new brand, more expensive, an earthy flavor. He closed his eyes. I drank 2 glasses. By the time we started arguing about the POA, I could barely stand. I thought it was just the alcohol hitting me hard because I hadn't eaten much, but it wasn't. It was Ambien and Xanax, enough to impair your coordination and judgment. I got in the car to leave, to drive to your place, actually. I was going to tell you everything and ask what I should do. She jumped in the passenger seat, started screaming that if I went to you, she'd make sure I never saw her again, that she'd take the house, the savings, everything. His voice cracked. And then I was on Aurora Avenue and she just grabbed the wheel, yanked it hard to the right. I tried to correct, but everything was moving so slow in my head, and then we hit the pole. Why didn't you tell the paramedics? She was crying, sobbing, saying, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was just trying to get your attention. I didn't think you'd crash, and I was so confused and my head hurt, and I thought maybe it was an accident, that she panicked and made a mistake. He looked at me. But it wasn't a mistake, was it? No, baby. It wasn't. She tried to kill me. I think she wanted to hurt you badly enough that you'd be dependent on her. Malleable. Easy to control while you recovered. And if you died. I trailed off. She'd get the life insurance. David's face went gray. $500,000. Plus everything in my name. The house, the 401k, everything. Yes, Jesus Christ. He put his head in his hands. How did I not see this? How did I not see who she really was? Because she's good at pretending. And because you loved her. Love makes us blind. The door opened. Pat stuck her head in. Maggie, Vanessa just pulled into the parking garage. You have maybe 5 minutes. My heart jumped. David, I need to go. No, stay. He grabbed my hand. I want you here when she comes in. David? Please, I need to do this. And I need you here as a witness. I looked at Pat. She nodded once, then disappeared. 3 minutes later, Vanessa walked in carrying a Starbucks cup and wearing a soft gray sweater that made her look young and vulnerable. Her eyes were red, makeup smudged. She'd been crying, or wanted us to think she had. She stopped when she saw me. What is she doing here? Sit down, Vanessa. David's voice was ice. Baby, I know you're upset about whatever lies she told you, but sit down. She sat, slowly, perched on the edge of the chair like a bird ready to fly. David picked up the voice recorder. I want you to listen to something. Her face went white. What is that? Just listen. He pressed play. Vanessa's voice. Yes, I gave David something to help him relax. Maybe I reached for the wheel. After you're declared incompetent, we'll have your house too. The recording played. Vanessa sat frozen. When it ended, she looked at David with wide, desperate eyes. That's out of context. She ambushed me. She was threatening me. I said things I didn't mean. David held up the printed emails. Explain these. She grabbed them. Read. Her hands shook. Where did you get these? Doesn't matter. Are they real? David, I can explain. Yes or no. Did you write these emails to Linda planning to have my mother declared incompetent so you could sell her house? Silence. Did you drug me on March 19th? More silence. Did you grab the steering wheel and cause the accident? Vanessa started crying. Real tears this time. I was desperate. We're drowning in debt. $32,000 on credit cards. The mortgage is killing us. I lost 2 brand deals last month. So you decided to steal from my mother and then tried to kill me when I wouldn't help. I didn't try to kill you. I just wanted you to stop the car. To listen to me. I panicked. It was a mistake. You put sedatives in my wine. To help you relax. You were so anxious about disappointing your mother, I thought if you just calmed down. Shut up. David's voice was quiet. Deadly. Just shut up. Vanessa's face crumpled. She reached for his hand. He pulled away. David, please. I love you. I made mistakes, but I love you. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll make it right. Get out. David, get out of my room. Get out of my life. We're done. You don't mean that. You're upset. You're not thinking clearly. I want a divorce. I want you out of my house. And if you ever come near my mother again, I will take this recording and these emails to the police and press charges for attempted murder and conspiracy to commit fraud. Vanessa stood. Her tears stopped like someone had flipped a switch. The mask came off completely. Fine. You want to play it this way? I'll take everything. The house is in both our names. I'll get half the 401k, half the equity, spousal support. And everyone will know that you chose your crazy, manipulative mother over your wife. She looked at me with pure hatred. You did this. You poisoned him against me. I just told him the truth. The truth according to an old woman who can't let go of her son. Who's so pathetic and alone that she has to sabotage his marriage to feel important. She grabbed her purse. You two deserve each other. A mama's boy and his overbearing bitch of a mother. She walked out. David exhaled slowly. I'm sorry you had to hear that. I've been called worse. I'm so sorry, Mom, for all of it. For bringing her into our lives. For letting her isolate me from you. For almost helping her steal your home. He was crying now. You sacrificed everything for me, and I almost repaid you by... Stop, you didn't know. She fooled both of us. But you saw through her, from the beginning, and I didn't listen. I sat on the edge of his bed and pulled him into a hug. He sobbed against my shoulder like he used to when he was small and scared. "It's over now," I whispered. "It's over." But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't, because Vanessa wasn't the type to go quietly, and I still had one more piece of the puzzle to deal with. Linda. David came home to my apartment 3 days later, not to his house in Maple Leaf, our house, as Vanessa kept calling it in the 17 text messages she'd sent him, to my cramped one-bedroom in Northgate where the neighbors were too loud and the bathroom faucet dripped and the view was of a parking lot. He slept on my couch, didn't complain once. On March 28th, 1 week after the accident, I got a text from Linda. "We need to talk, face to face, please." I didn't respond for 6 hours, let her sweat. Finally, at 4 p.m., I wrote back, "Jade Garden, tomorrow, 11 a.m., come alone." She arrived 10 minutes early. I watched her through the restaurant window, pacing on the sidewalk, checking her phone. She'd lost weight, had dark circles under her eyes. Good. I walked in at exactly 11 a.m. She stood when she saw me, tried to hug me. I stepped back. "Sit." We sat. The waiter brought tea. Linda's hands shook as she poured. "Maggie, I'm so sorry. I didn't know she was going to." "You knew exactly what you were doing. You falsified documents to have me declared incompetent. You conspired to steal my property. You did it for $189,000. It wasn't like that. She made it sound reasonable, like we were helping you." "Helping me by taking away my home?" Linda's eyes filled with tears. "I was jealous, okay? I've been jealous of you my whole life. Mom always loved you more, always talked about how smart you were, how dedicated, what a good nurse you were. And then she left you the house. Not both of us, just you, like I didn't even matter. So you decided to steal it. I decided to take what should have been partially mine anyway." She wiped her eyes. "But I didn't know about the drugs, or the accident. Vanessa told me David was on board with everything, that he wanted to help you but you were being stubborn. She said once the house sold, we'd put you in a nice facility and you'd actually thank us eventually. And you believed her." I wanted to believe her, because it meant I wasn't doing something terrible. I was just correcting an old injustice. She looked at me. "I know that sounds insane now, but when you're angry for 30 years, you start justifying things you know are wrong. Do you still have the paperwork? The capacity assessment forms?" She nodded, pulled a manila envelope from her purse. "I was supposed to give these to Dr. Morrison on April 1st, but I can't. I won't. David called me 2 days ago, told me everything, about the recording, the emails, what Vanessa did." Her voice cracked. "Maggie, if David had died in that accident, I would have been partially responsible. I would have helped someone commit murder for money." "Yes, you would have." She slid the envelope across the table. "These are the only copies. The originals are on my laptop. I'll delete them. And I'm withdrawing from anything involving you or David. Completely." I took the envelope, didn't open it. "What about Dr. Morrison? What about him?" "He's prescribing controlled substances to Vanessa without proper medical justification. He was going to rubber stamp my incompetency evaluation. He's part of this." Linda looked uncomfortable. "I don't know anything about that. Vanessa said he was a friend, that he'd help with the paperwork. A friend who takes cash payments for prescription renewals." I checked his records. Her eyes widened. "How did you—" She stopped. "You accessed the medical system." "I did. That's illegal. So is conspiracy to commit fraud." We stared at each other. "What are you going to do?" Linda asked quietly. "I'm going to make sure Vanessa can never hurt anyone again. And I'm going to make sure Dr. Morrison loses his license." "How?" I pulled out my phone, opened WhatsApp, the Chen family group chat. Me, David, Linda, Robert's brother Tom, his sister Grace, 3 cousins, and Vanessa. 22 members total. I'm going to send everyone the recording, and the emails, and the medical records showing Dr. Morrison's prescription pattern. Linda went pale. "Maggie, if you do that, if you admit you accessed those records, you'll lose your pension. They'll revoke your license retroactively." "I'm aware. You'd sacrifice your financial security just to expose her? I'd sacrifice everything to protect my son. I typed a message. Family. I need you all to listen to something important. It concerns David's accident and his wife, Vanessa. Please listen to the full recording before responding. I attached the audio file, then the screenshots of the emails, then a PDF of Dr. Morrison's prescription records with a note. Dr. Richard Morrison has been providing controlled substances without proper medical oversight and agreed to falsify a competency evaluation for payment. My finger hovered over send. Maggie, wait. Linda's voice was urgent. If you send this, everyone will know. Vanessa's friends, her Instagram followers, everyone. She'll be destroyed. Good. But so will you, and David. Everyone will know your family's business. It'll be public, humiliating. Better humiliated than dead. I pressed send. The message appeared in the group chat with a small check mark. 22 people would see it within minutes. Linda stared at her phone. Oh my God, you actually did it. Yes. Vanessa is going to lose her mind. Probably. We sat in silence. The waiter brought dim sum we hadn't ordered. Linda picked at a dumpling. I drank tea and watched my phone. The reactions came fast. Cousin Jenny. OMG, is this real? Robert's sister, Grace. I always knew something was off about her. Uncle Tom. David, okay? More and more messages. Shock, anger, questions. Within 15 minutes, the group chat had 87 new messages. Then, at 11:34 a.m., a new message appeared. From Vanessa. This is fake. Margaret is mentally unwell and has been harassing me since David's accident. These recordings are doctored. The emails are fabricated. I'm consulting with my attorney about defamation charges. I typed back, the Washington State Medical Board can verify Dr. Morrison's records. The police can verify the toxicology report from David's accident. And everyone on this chat can hear your voice admitting you drugged him. Vanessa. You illegally accessed confidential medical information. That's a felony. I'll have you arrested. Me. Go ahead. I'll be waiting. 3 minutes later, Vanessa left the group chat. Linda watched the whole thing. She's going to come after you, legally. Let her try. She admitted to drugging David on a recording that's now in the hands of 22 people. Even if she gets me on illegal access charges, she's done. What about Dr. Morrison? As if on cue, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? Mrs. Chen? This is Dr. Richard Morrison. I understand you've made some very serious accusations against me in a public forum. I've shared medical records, facts, not accusations. Records you obtained illegally. Records that show you've been prescribing controlled substances inappropriately and agreed to falsify a competency evaluation. Silence. Then, what do you want? I want you to voluntarily surrender your license to the medical board before they investigate you. I want you to admit what you did, and I want you to stay away from my family. And if I don't, I send everything to the board, the DEA, and the Seattle Times, along with testimony from David about how your patient Vanessa Chen drugged him with medications you prescribed. Long pause. You've destroyed my career. You destroyed it yourself when you decided ethics were negotiable. He hung up. Linda stared at me. Who are you? This isn't the sister I grew up with. No. She died when you tried to steal her home. I stood, dropped $40 on the table. Goodbye, Linda. Maggie, wait, can we ever? I looked at her, really looked at her. 51 years old, successful, wealthy, and completely hollow. I don't know. Maybe someday, but not today. I left her sitting there. 2 weeks later, on April 12th, Dr. Morrison surrendered his medical license. The medical board released a brief statement citing irregularities in prescription practices. Vanessa filed for divorce on April 8th. Her attorney sent David a demand letter asking for half of everything plus $4,200 a month in spousal support. David's attorney responded with the recording, the emails, and a police report David had finally filed about the accident. Vanessa's attorney withdrew from the case 3 days later. The divorce was finalized in June. David kept the house. Vanessa got nothing except the clothes in her closet and her car. The Audi with the dented bumper she refused to fix because it reminded her of what she'd survived. Her Instagram went dark. Last post, from March 25th, taking time to heal and reflect. Thank you for all your support during this difficult time. She moved to Portland. I heard from cousin Jenny that she was working at a Nordstrom cosmetics counter. Linda sent me a card on my 64th birthday in September. Just 3 words. I'm so sorry. I didn't respond, but I kept the card. David still lives with me. Says he's saving money to buy a new place, something smaller, but I think he just doesn't want to be alone. And honestly, neither do I. We have dim sum every Sunday. Same table at Jade Garden, same order. Har Gao, Siu Mai, Char Siu Bao. He's seeing a therapist twice a week, processing the manipulation, the gaslighting, the betrayal. Some days he's okay. Some days he's not. Last week he asked, "Do you think I'll ever trust anyone again?" I held his hand across the table. Yes, but it'll take time. What if I make the same mistake? Fall for someone like her again? You won't, because now you know what to look for. And because I'll be here to tell you if something feels wrong. He smiled. Small, but real. My personal lie detector. Always. We finished our tea. He paid the bill. Always insists, even though I know he's still paying off the credit card debt Vanessa left him with. Outside, the sun was shining. Rare for Seattle in October. "You know what I realized?" David said as we walked to the car. "You saved my life. Actually saved it. If you hadn't found those records, if you hadn't gotten that recording, you would have figured it out eventually." "No, I wouldn't have. I would have signed the POA, let them take your house, maybe even taken Vanessa back after the divorce." He stopped walking, looked at me. "You sacrificed your nursing license for me, your reputation. You could have been arrested. Worth it. Was it? You worked 34 years for that pension, and now I have my son back, and my home, and my self-respect." I touched the jade bracelet on my wrist. "Your father would have done the same thing. Actually, he'd probably have done something more dramatic. Probably would have punched Dr. Morrison." David laughed. Real laughter. First time in weeks. We drove home. He made dinner, spaghetti carbonara, his specialty. We watched Jeopardy, argued about the final Jeopardy answer. At 9 p.m., my phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. "You ruined my life. I hope you're proud of yourself. Vanessa." I deleted it without responding. David saw my face. "Her?" "Yep. You okay?" I thought about it. About everything that had happened. The terror, the betrayal, the week living in my car, the illegal access, the public humiliation, the loss of my license. "Yeah," I said. "I'm okay." And I meant it, because at the end of the day I still had what mattered most. My son. Safe. Alive. Home. Everything else was just noise. The Beacon Hill house sold in August for $697,000. I split the money with David, half for him to rebuild his savings, half for me to finally retire comfortably. Linda sent flowers when she heard. No card. Just white lilies. The kind Mom used to grow in her garden. I kept them until they died, then I threw them away. Some bridges can't be rebuilt. Some betrayals are too deep. But some wounds do heal. Slowly. With time. David's getting better. I'm getting better. We're learning to trust again. Together. And Vanessa? Last I heard, she's engaged to a lawyer in Portland. I saw the announcement on Facebook. Big diamond ring. Happy couple photo. I wonder if he knows what he's getting into. I wonder if he'll figure it out before it's too late. I hope so, for his sake. But that's not my problem anymore. My problem is what to make for Sunday dim sum. Because David's bringing his therapist, a kind woman named Sarah who laughs at his jokes and doesn't wear too much makeup. He asked if I'd like to meet her. Said it wasn't serious, just casual. But his voice had something in it I hadn't heard in years. Hope. So yeah, I'll meet her. I'll smile. I'll be polite. And if my gut tells me something's wrong, I'll speak up. Because that's what mothers do. We protect our children, even when they're grown, even when it costs us everything, and we never ever stop fighting.